always thought it would be better to be a fake somebody than a real nobody. Tom Ripley from The Talented Mr. Ripley. You are only a real nobody when you are a fake somebody. Ebon Kim. Hello everyone. I am going to start off on this one just kind of reading some of the comments on my previous video, and so let's go there first, and then I'll go over some of the things that I was preparing for a long time but didn't really get to. So Max Waller, when I realized you are a flat earther, I instantly thought, what? You have to be who you are. As for being transgender, it is ongoing. However, people have to be who they firmly believe, who and what they are, regardless of the majority of humanity, etc., etc., etc. Kathy B, I've missed you, and as always, love you. Same here, Kathy B. Conan Highwoods, okay, well that happened. God bless you. Unusual Veracity, you are not alone. If I could flip a switch and change genders, I would, and have always wanted to since childhood. However, ultimately have concerns about the interpretation of the mainstream of what transgender even means, and definitely the medical procedures that go into it, more so surgeries. So I have been reluctant to declare myself trans per se or any label, but I am greatly sympathetic to your situation. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things about being transgender that still needs to be, I mean, it doesn't need to be cleared up, but I guess for some people it does. It is definitely true that the conspiracy flat earth circles don't take kindly to trans people. To me, it seems to be another divide and conquer technique, and perhaps an effort by some to redirect the focus of a spiritual condition to the mere physical. Transgender, in my opinion, is not a plot from Satan or a massive conspiracy, though there are no doubt some trans people in Hollywood that aren't out, and likely that some cults do try and use transgenderism as a shortcut in spiritual development. I do not think I am programmed by the media to be this way, and have honestly considered this greatly. Yes, there's a lot of investigations that I do want to cover. Transvestigation is one of them. And there's a lot to go over on that regard. To me, it's simply an expression of consciousness, maybe impacted by previous lives or some sort of progress to unity. For the last 3 years, I have found expressing myself both genders from time to time in public, and it is very interesting to see how treatment by others varies. If nothing else, it is a great lesson in empathy, but I suspect there is something much deeper to it. I am sure you are familiar with some of the Native American beliefs about two-spirit people. Yes, I read about a lot of that. A lot of religions in ancient civilizations and cultures actually look pretty favorably to androgyny or transgenderism. Even the Abrahamic religions, angels and demons are androgynous. Let's see. And perhaps part of the danger of mainstream thinking on transgenderism is the unbalanced focus on the strictly material. Yeah, I find it very politically dividing. Hi, LBRY, how's it going? Yes, I agree. More practically speaking, I would be cautious using the anti-androgen, and it can present danger to the internal organs, kidneys especially, from overuse. Yeah, if I read about that. There seems to be a developing school of thought that if one takes enough estrogen, both prescription and natural supplements, that the body will naturally reduce testosterone levels. The subreddit TransDYI has more information on this. I've only dabbled with HRT in low levels, though for quite some time, and has taken the edge off and softened me a bit. At this point, I am satisfied. As far as voice, the YouTuber Zoe Alexandria has some good information on how really high pitch is actually counterintuitive to a natural sounding female voice. And it's more about the quality of tone and other factors, so you can develop an authentic sounding female voice without sounding like a stereotypical tranny. I wish you great luck and wisdom in your journey and impressed by your courage to share this, especially given the topics you usually deal with. If nothing else, I just wanted to share my discovery. The physical side of this is really the tip of the iceberg. If transition is important to you, then you must do it, but I think ultimately it's about inner transformation. I suspect hope that as we progress through levels of reality that our external form will become more malleable and able to represent our inner thoughts more directly. Not to go all new age, but I do think that time is coming soon for those who are ready for it. Flat Accord music. I think you're very brave. Much of the truth community has been weaponized to be hateful towards those whose shoes they haven't come close to stepping in. You have my support and respect. Thank you. Yeah. If anyone thinks that, I mean, here's the thing when we go into more about the transgender type of thing. If any of these control systems really supported it, it would be easy to come out as transgender. You wouldn't have any worries of people no longer wanting to associate with you, or maybe there be some people that actually want to go and do harm to you, and certain institutions and corporations and stuff, they'll fire you just because maybe they have a belief system, or a owner and founder or something is really religious in some form or another. Like, it's coming out as flat earther, someone who doesn't believe the globe model. It was easy, being considered a conspiracy theorist, it's pretty easy. This was difficult. I mean, this was, I was just kind of fighting against. It's like, why am I fighting against it? And I'll kind of guide you through as to why I decided to come out and transition as we go on after this comment section stuff. Yes, unusual veracity, yes, and weaponized is a great description. There is much angst and confusion over gender and sexuality, likely from the foundations set centuries ago by Judean and Christian philosophies, but to me, I have ultimately arrived at believing if a mindset or principle doesn't express respect for the free will of all consciousness, and more importantly, love, then it is misguided at best. Also, just wanted to add that just because certain things can be used to promote and further secret agendas doesn't mean that those with the agendas created them. Transgenderism and homosexuality, not that they are the same condition by any means, can be greatly useful as a population reduction technique, but that doesn't mean that TP invented them, or that supporting those communities is being some sort of show. There are those who cynically use any situation to their own advantage to gain or maintain power. Yeah, I mean, I was close to transgendering before I met my wife. Then I met my wife, and well, that happened. And I have 2 great kids. Definitely not a means of population reduction. And I'm grateful that I just kept going in that regard and have my 2 kids. And then my wife had to have I forgot what you call it, but she can't have kids anymore. So, I mean, we were pretty much done at that point. And right now, it's still not irreversible for me. I mean, but still, I mean, it's not like me and my wife are going to have any more kids due to this decision. Anyways, FE Evangelist. Hi, Ebon. I'm only 9 minutes in, but so far you made a couple of claims I would like to substantiate it if possible. One, there are millions of transgender people. You can just look it up. Number of transgender in the world. You might want to go to most people would say like a mainstream source, like maybe UCLA.edu, university. School of Law, the Williams Institute, in 2016, how many adults identify as transgender in the United States? And again, this is just the United States. This is just adults. This doesn't factor in children. So in that regard, they estimated 1.4 million adults identify as transgender. Couple that in with children, couple that in with outside the US, all these different countries, it's going to be in the millions. As a subset of that, there are millions of transgender people who don't believe the Earth is a globe. As far as I know, I am the only one that's out as transgender that considers the globe Earth not to be substantiated, I guess you could say. You could look, I have tried finding others. The only person, that comes, I wouldn't say comes close, that's been discussed is Patricia Steer. She's not out as transgender, if she is or if she is not. It's just been, she's just been ridiculed as being transgender. And then if you go to, I guess, Susan's Place, which is a transgender resources, one of the writers, Susie Chase, back in 2016, wrote an article called Flat Earth Transphobia, and basically equating those who are transphobes are usually flat earthers and don't regard science. Don't listen to science, they just believe what they believe, type of thing. And again, if you talk with a bunch of transgender people in forums or whatnot, they will, and you ask them about COVID-19, conspiracy theories, 9/11, whatever, they're going to side by the control system, which is usually, they're usually political in nature, mostly left. Or I wouldn't say left, more not conservative, but you know what I mean. The more liberal, I guess you could say. And of course, with the 4 comments that are here, they really are more supportive of that. Yeah, that's a good term and all of this stuff. I think I would say that people who are transgender have more things to focus on than the shape of the Earth. Anyways, hopefully that answers your question. You've been around long enough to do that baseless assertions, and yeah, I don't fly and I don't make baseless assertions. I mean, just tell me in the count of your hands, name as many transgender flat earthers that you know of. And Patricia Steer doesn't count. She's not out as transgender. And of course, I just mentioned to you, and I just showed you that the number of transgender in the world, is, at least in the United States, is 1.4 million. So millions isn't out of the picture, since there's plenty more transgender adults around the world, and they don't even count children. And anyways, that's that. So let's switch over. Let me look. LBRY, storm coming. Gonna lose signal. Take care. Ciao for now. Take care, LBRY. Hopefully I can talk to you sometime soon. See how you've been. One thing about not going and doing a lot of these live streams and making these videos, I don't really get to talk to a lot of people that I usually talk to. Okay, so this is kind of what I've created. It was very simple to create this, and it has more to do with, I don't know, more to do with yourself, how you see yourself, and not necessarily how you see others, but how others see you. And how others see you is based upon those 2 factors, how you see yourself and what you show to others. So consciousness can be easily determined. These are my explanations, and again, this is just conceptual. I mean, everything, there's this philosophical frame of thought that what is real and how we communicate, what we communicate whether through visual, through language, through written form, that's all conceptual. And then what's actual is just basically what you experience, which sometimes cannot be described in whatever forms that we have to another individual where they can understand it. So consciousness is what you know of yourself, what you know of thyself. Now, factor that with ego, and again, I'm not using any other term out there, but how it relates to how others view you, or how you allow others to view you, and how you view yourself. So ego is what you let others know of you. So when you're talking about how people who are the cult of personality, how you want to influence a lot of others so that they continue watching you, or if you're a politician, that they'll vote for you, or if you're a social media creator, how you want people to subscribe to you. And a lot of the stuff, you kind of enter a persona. A lot of the times that's not them. You go into a private room and you're friends with somebody that's one of these people is like, yep, definitely not how that person is in private. So what people show in public and what people do in private, that ego is what they show to the public is not them. And you're going to see that everywhere. Celebrities, famous people, rich people, sports people, actors, actresses, directors, basically people who make millions or who have a lot of fame. They've got a ego of what they allow people to see, and behind that they don't. And a lot of that is going to be based on fear, because it's fear as far as it relates to consciousness, as to how others see you, is what you don't let others know of you, right? You've got ego of what you do let others know of you. So you basically, it's very similar to if you're going to go and date somebody, or find a date. You're going to put your best foot forward. It's like your first time meeting someone. They always tell you to dress your best. The first impression is the lasting impression, all this other stuff. So you don't want to go and say straight, tell them like you're someone that you just met, your deepest secrets type of thing. You want them to get to know you, then you can maybe let them know something, which is difficult. I think it was more difficult in the past, because now I think a lot of these meetups are driven by apps. Which is kind of good, because you kind of have your bio, you let out secrets. It's safer for most transgender people if they're going on dates, because of a lot of transphobia. People have been beat up, people have been killed, even though that they had bios in their dating app that they are transgender. And then someone contacts them, hey, would you want to go and have some coffee or dinner or whatever? And they go, yeah. And then the transgender person says, you do know that I am transgender, right? And they're going, what? It's like, it's on my app. It's on my bio on the dating app. I wrote it like 3-4 times. It's like, why are you surprised now? And then, the transgender person is pretty scared, because the other person either yells at them or like does something. So that's that ego part. Now, the fear part is, I guess, letting people know that once you're, say you don't tell, you didn't have an app, you met someone, person, you were flirting, and things went well, so they asked you out, and you go okay, and you go out, and well, you're probably thinking that whole date, it's like, should I tell this person? And their fear of what's going to happen is going to be like, no, I won't tell that person. And then eventually, I think they'll know, or you're going to have to tell them. So, that's how the fear drives you back. That's a lot of these things. Like, it doesn't have to be transgenderism. It doesn't have to be like if you're lesbian, gay, or bisexual. It could be like your criminal history, or um, that she may think that he or she may think that you're well off because of how you dress and whatever, but actually you're like on welfare or something, right? You're that fear of letting that person know your true you and your situation. They may not want anything to do with you, so you just go on. And then at the end of your life, and say you got married and had kids, it's like, did they love you, or did they love the mask that you put on, your persona, your ego? And it's just a lot of people out there, that celebrities and stuff, a lot of people really look up to them and love them and whatever. They love the mask, they love that persona, that ego. They probably don't necessarily love that person like you would love someone like from your family or your friends and things like that. All right, so there's the fear aspect. So what would you rather so to actually have others know who you are, you're gonna have to not just inflate that ego of just the good part of you and just hold back all the bad parts. You're gonna have to kind of let go of that fear, confront that fear, and have them know who you are. I mean, I would love to put in some type of story or analogy of imagine there is a heaven after death, and you can be reunited with your loved ones, and all it takes is for them to find you because they know who you are, so they can navigate through the universe or whatever. And then you realize, wait, they can't find you because, well, they didn't really know you. I mean, you hid so many things from them because of fear or whatever, rejection and a lot of that stuff. They'll never find you. You can't. I mean, there was no connection. They were connected to a conception of you, not you in actuality. And I think I'm going to go over a couple of things in the future in live streams and videos where I can talk about, well, let's talk about transgender and religion. Let's talk about transgender and what's that dysphoria? How do you know you're transgender? Is transgenderism a choice, or are you born with it? For me, I like to describe it as I was born with it. I could understand it while I was growing up that, well, everyone understands boys have penises, girls have vaginas type of thing. And for me growing up, it's like, I don't want a penis. I want a vagina. I want to do these things. I want to look this way. But of course, I had to build up a mask due to my father, family, and things like that. So I had to build the persona, like an alter ego. I kind of like telling it like a couple different ways. For example, Batman's alter ego is Bruce Wayne. It's not the opposite way around. Bruce Wayne isn't his true self. His true self is Batman. When Batman is Bruce Wayne acts like a playboy who's eccentric or carefree, right? He puts on that show so no one could figure out that Bruce Wayne is actually Batman. So it's the same concept where I'm in many ways female, but I have to act the part of the male because I can't let anybody know that I'm really female, even though I look, I am whatever it is that I have. Another aspect is, building up that mask that ego, that persona. Think about how Michael Jordan, right? He was the greatest basketball player of all time, and when he retired, as they say, before even the top of his game, to play baseball. I mean, a lot of people said, why would you want to leave basketball? You can probably still win more championships. You're the best player ever, they're saying. And to go play baseball, which you're probably not even very good at. And of course, what does Michael Jordan want to do? Michael Jordan wants to play baseball. He doesn't want to play basketball. Eventually, baseball didn't work out for him. He went back to basketball. So it's the same thing. It's like, why would you want to become more female? You're such a good male, right? The society's version of you as a male is so good. Why would you want to leave? Why would you want to retire? So it's kind of the same concept that I want to put out there. Just because the act is so good and people really like that act, sometimes you just want something different. You just need to be yourself. You don't want to act anymore. You just it's tiring, it's depressing, and it's you always wonder, is like, do people love you for who you're acting to be, or do people really love you for who you are? And you won't know if they love you for who you are unless you tell them who you are. So there's something, a lot of people know what amnesia is. In this context, amnesia is what you don't let yourself know of yourself. So some people choose to forget. Traumatic experiences is one of them. Some people choose to not remember bad experiences with other people, or things that they've done in the past or that they regret. People will try to just forget, but purposefully forget, and sometimes purposefully not remember, whether it's just some form of trauma or whatever experience it is. It's things you don't want to let yourself know of yourself, and sometimes you do want to revisit some of that stuff again, just so you can do what most people would call shadow work. And then on opposition to that, which a lot of people, especially the Gnostics and a couple of other types of philosophical thought and religions, anamnesia is what do you let yourself know of yourself. So for me, it was, okay, what do I know of myself? Do I like the way that I look? No. Right? That's just something I want to know of myself, not from any other person's point of view, just my own point of view. And then it's like, why do I not like the way I look? When I was healthy, I had a lot of, almost 0% body fat, I was very muscular and toned. Did I still like how I looked? I go, no. I look at other parts, just the physical, just the physical part, that I inspect. Not just, there's also the mental, there's also the spiritual, whatever. So it's all just self-thought of yourself, and it's a lot of reflections like that. And so, what is the truth? Even if I want to deny it, what is the essential truth from a physical standpoint of how I see myself? It's like, yeah, I don't like what I see. I never have. I've always wanted to look like something else. And if we go through the thought process, the mental state, it's what are the things that I do like doing that may be regarded by society or culture as being like sub male, I guess you could say. That's not very alpha. Hey Shirley, how you doing? And so things like I like gardening, I like cooking, I like baking, I like when I was growing up, I used to do a lot of aerobics, you know, where the women dress up in those tights. This is back in the 80s. They got like pink and blue, like powder blue, and you know those headbands. I do that at home. Um, you know, a lot of things that may be considered as, you know, not very manly, right? But you know, learn to fight, martial arts, and all this other stuff. Become strong, and um, sports games, you know, those things are like very male type things to do, which some of it I liked. And but that's not to say females don't like to do any of that stuff either. I mean, basically every sport has a male and female side of the sport. So um, and same thing with games. Anyways, so there's that mental state, and then there's this, I guess you could say, religious spiritual state. But it's also mental in some ways, because all right, so if transgenderism isn't a choice, why would I come out as transgender? Right? Let's say a lot of these religions out there that are very hateful towards transgender people, because maybe it's not even personal. Maybe it's just because of their religion states that maybe transgenderism is an abomination, or transgenderism is something that God hates most above all, type of thing. That if you find someone who's transgender, you may do whatever you want to them and God will approve, type of thing. It's like, why would I let's say if you're in that boat where you grew up in a religion that God really thought if you were transgender you'd be going to hell for all eternity and tortured. Well, you're already born transgender, you just haven't admitted it or told anyone else. So no matter what, you're still going to be going to hell. So at least in this life, well, you know, before you go to hell, at least you can live a life of truth and honesty and tell people, I am transgender. I know I'm going to hell, but you know, I thought at least I'd be honest in my life. And then some people may be like, well, thank you for your honesty, but you're an abomination and you're cast out of church, you're fired from your job, your family disowns you, and your friends just want nothing to do with you. And it's like, well, that's not good. You're already in a place probably worse than hell, and you're just gonna have to relive that over and over again. And for what? Just to, because you're honest, that the truth was important to you, that you knew the conditions going in, that it was not favorable. I mean, who wants to come out as transgender, right? Even if you are transgender or not, who would go, hey, I'm transgender, because it's such a cool thing, right? Everybody loves transgender people. No, majority of people hate transgender people. And whether if that's just a personal thing, sexuality thing, ego thing, religious thing, whatever it is, it's one of the things that most people realize, yeah, you know, I'm glad I'm say someone's like, I'm glad I'm a liar and a thief and not a transgender or whatever. And then the thing is, funny thing is people who have transphobia, it's not like they're ever going to have sex with you, right? I mean, they're not going to have sex with you. So what does it matter what genitalia that you have or what you look like? They're going to want nothing to do with you. So what does it matter that if you go through with it? So basically, you do no harm to anyone else. You know, people may say you're harming yourself or you're harming what God has given you. But think of a lot of religions out there where you get circumcised. You know, God gave you your body and you went ahead and chopped some of it off. Maybe God gave you poor eyesight or deafness, and you ended up getting that corrected with laser eye surgery or hearing aids, or like whatever. Or so you got some sort of condition and you're treating it with medication. It's like, hey, why would you do that? I thought you said, God gave you your beautiful body and now you're desecrating it. I was like, well, it wasn't perfect. There's always some excuse, right? So there's a lot of that to consider as well. Anyways, I'm going to leave those conversations up for future live streams. I just wanted to share this of how much of yourself do you really know, and is it based on what you don't allow yourself to know and what you do want to actually confront. And also a lot of this, that where we are and how when we are, whatever you want, however you want to state it, this place is not a solo journey. It is, but it's also a journey with others. I mean, I don't know of anyone really going through life alone and choosing to be alone, and the world doesn't continue to exist by just isolating yourself from everybody else. Everyone has to keep going, mate, have offspring, teach those in future generations how to do certain things, right? It's a continuation, and it's not that everyone goes through life alone, and that's the point of it. But what's important is, if you love yourself, then you want to admit some of the things that of yourself and remember some of the things that you chose not to remember and correct those. A lot of those are regrets and things like that. And then there's the part of what your interactions with others, the journey together of, you allow the people that you care about, that you love, and hopefully they love you. Do you want to lie to them about who you really are? Or that seems like you don't really love them enough, right? And you don't trust them enough to still accept you, even though no matter how you think about it, it seems like, why would they accept me? It just doesn't make sense. They reject me, type of thing, if I let them know about this negative part of me. But then that's not really love. You can't have love without honesty and truth, and you can't have good change without admitting to yourself what aspects of you that you don't like, and what aspects of you are true and you can accept. So that's it. And thank you for a lot of support. Questions are good. I like questions. And we'll talk about a lot of things that many won't talk about, I guess. And the ones who do seem to do a lot of talking about are people who have nothing to do with it, just have their own interpretations of it based on their religion or their own feelings, and not necessarily having someone that has a voice or uses that voice to say, hey, look, I am transgender. I don't agree with what you're saying. I don't agree with your interpretation of history of androgynous beings and transgenders and sexuality and things like that. And a lot of that is based on, well, what do you believe? What do you believe is a possibility? What do you think is a possibility? How do you think of this in a logical way, or all that stuff? So we'll get there. And thank you for joining me, and I'll see you later.